The loudest sound in the world is the silence of someone who's moved on. Let that sink in and shake the lies you've been fed. The ones that tell you that you need to explain, that you need to fight, that you need to make them see your worth. My friends, that's the biggest trap. You think words will wake them up, that if you just say the right thing, they'll regret treating you like an option. But here's the truth. Words don't make people regret. Absence does. Before we go any further, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to shift the power in your favor forever. Hey folks, imagine this. You walk into a store where everything is free. Luxury watches, designer clothes, the best of the best. You can take whatever you want, no price tag, no effort. Sounds amazing, right? But here's what happens. Over time, you stop caring. You stop appreciating what comes easy. Then one day, the store locks its doors. No warning, no explanation, and suddenly you realize just how valuable those things were. That's exactly what happens when you remove yourself from someone's life. When you were always there, always available, always giving, they didn't appreciate it. But when you're gone, when they can't reach you, that's when the panic sets in. That's when the regret starts creeping in, because now you're not accessible, now you're not cheap, now they see what they lost. And let me tell you something, people don't regret losing you when you cry. They don't regret losing you when you explain. They regret losing you when they realize you're not coming back, when they see you glowing, thriving, unstoppable, and they can't do a thing about it. But here's the problem. Too many of you keep making it easy for them. You keep checking their profile, responding to their weak, lazy messages, and giving them access to your energy. And guess what? That's why they don't respect you. That's why they don't feel the loss, because they still know you're there, waiting. That's why they don't regret losing you. You ever notice how people don't start caring until you stop? How they don't miss you until you pull away? That's not love. That's ego. That's their need to control you, to keep you as an option, to make sure you never truly move on. And today, that stops. Today is the day you take your power back. Today is the day you stop being predictable and start being a mystery, because nothing shakes someone more than realizing the person they once controlled is now untouchable. So from this moment on, you don't explain yourself. You don't justify your silence. You don't give them closure. You let them sit in the regret of their own choices, because trust me, the hardest lesson they'll ever learn is realizing that they lost someone irreplaceable. And you won't even care. Now say it with me. I am unforgettable. Write it in the comments, own it, live it. And if you're ready to step into the most powerful version of yourself, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next is going to change everything. Number 1, the disappearance effect. Why vanishing works every time. The scariest thing you can ever do to someone who took you for granted is to disappear. Let that sink in. Because right now, they don't think they lost anything. They believe they still have time. They think you're still there, still watching, still hoping, still waiting. They're convinced that no matter what they did, no matter how little they valued you, you'll always be within reach. But what happens when you break the pattern? What happens when you give them nothing? No message, no closure, no reaction, just silence. That's when the panic sets in. That's when their mind turns against them, spinning in circles, searching for answers they'll never get. Imagine this. You're watching the most intense movie of your life. The build-up is perfect. The tension is high. You're on the edge of your seat, waiting for the moment when everything is revealed. And then suddenly, black screen, no ending, no explanation, just emptiness. It drives you crazy, doesn't it? You keep thinking about it, replaying it in your head, trying to make sense of it. It lingers in your mind, haunting you because your brain needs closure, and without it, you can't move on. That's exactly what happens when you disappear from someone's life without a trace. You become an unfinished story, one they will obsess over. They'll wonder where you went, why you left, and if you ever really cared. And the worst part, the part that truly eats them alive, they will never get an answer. Here's the truth they don't want to admit. People don't fear losing you. They fear losing control over you. They fear not knowing where they stand. They fear realizing that the person they once had power over is now untouchable. But right now, you're scared. I know what's going through your mind. What if I just say something? Just a little message, just so they know why I'm gone? What if they think I never cared? What if they just move on without a second thought? That's your fear talking. That's your need for validation trying to pull you back into old patterns. But let me ask you this. When they ignored you, when they took you for granted, when they treated you like you were nothing, did they care how you felt? Did they sit down and explain why they treated you that way? Did they give you closure? No, because they never feared losing you. They were comfortable. They thought you would always be there. And that's exactly why disappearing will hit them harder than any words ever could. But I won't lie to you. This won't be easy. Silence is uncomfortable. You'll feel the urge to explain. You'll want to reach out just to see if they care. You'll be tempted to check their social media, to look for signs that they miss you, to see if they regret what they did. But let me tell you something. If someone only realizes your worth after you're gone, they never truly valued you in the first place. You see, most people think closure is about understanding. They think if they can just get that final conversation, that last explanation, that one last moment of honesty, it will help them move on. But that's a lie. Closure isn't something someone else gives you. Closure is something you decide for yourself. And the most powerful closure, the one that leaves them struggling instead of you, is your silence. Because while they sit there waiting for a message that will never come, refreshing their inbox, checking their phone, wondering where you went, you'll be gone. And by the time they realize what they lost, you won't even care. You ever notice how people don't appreciate things when they have them? How they don't value what's freely available? It's human nature. We take for granted what is always within reach. But the moment it's gone, the moment we realize we can't just go back whenever we want, that's when regret kicks in. Imagine an exclusive club, one that only lets a few people inside. You walk past it every day, but you never think about going in. It's just there, available. You assume you can walk in anytime you want. But then one day, the doors close. Suddenly, there's a line around the block, and people are desperate to get inside. And now you want in too. That's exactly what happens when you remove yourself from someone's life. They never valued you when they had you, but the moment you're gone, the moment they realize they no longer have access to you, that's when they start to want it the most. But by then, it's too late. And let's get one thing clear. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about manipulating them into wanting you back. This is about taking back your power. This is about finally understanding that you were the prize all along. Because the people who truly care don't wait until they lose you to start valuing you. They don't risk losing someone special just to see if they can get them back later. They don't take you for granted in the first place. And the ones who do, the ones who only realize your worth when you stop responding, they don't deserve you. So from this moment on, you stop explaining, you stop justifying, you stop making it easy for them. You let your silence do the talking, because nothing, and I mean nothing, will haunt them more than realizing that they had you. And now they never will again. And you will rise. You will become the strongest version of yourself. You will glow up in ways they never imagined. And when they finally understand what they lost, when they reach out, hoping to reconnect, hoping to fix what they broke, you won't even be there to see it. Now say it with me. I am untouchable. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that you are no longer someone who begs for closure, because what's coming next is going to take your power to a level they never saw coming. Stay with me. This is just the beginning. Number 2, make them feel the void. No contact is just the beginning. People don't regret losing you when you cry. They regret losing you when they can't reach you. Let that sink in, because right now, some of you are still waiting, still hoping, still wondering, what if I go no contact? Will they finally see my worth? But let me tell you something. No contact is not a waiting game. No contact is a statement. It's not a pause button. It's not a strategy to make them chase you. It's the moment you leave the building and never look back. See, too many of you think distance creates longing, that if you just step back, if you just give them some space, they'll realize they miss you and come running. But here's the truth. They won't regret losing you until they feel the emptiness you left behind. Imagine this. You walk past a coffee shop every day. It's always been there. You never really pay attention to it. You assume it's always open, always available. Maybe you step inside once in a while, but you don't think twice about it. And then one day, the doors are shut, the lights are off. A sign on the door says, "Closed forever." Suddenly, you feel it. That sinking realization that you took it for granted and that you'll never get another chance. That's what happens when you remove yourself from someone's life completely. They assumed you'd always be there. They believed they had all the time in the world. They never thought you'd actually walk away. But when you go no contact for real, not as a trick, not as a test, but as a choice, that's when it finally hits them. But here's the problem. Some of you are still leaving the door open. You're still checking in. You're still responding to their weak attempts, their lazy messages, their half-hearted efforts to see if they still have access to you. And that's why they don't feel the loss. Because as long as they know you're there, as long as they know you're watching, waiting, hoping, they don't regret anything. They don't feel it. They don't panic. But the moment they go to reach for you and you're no longer there, that's when everything changes. And I know what's going through your mind. But what if they move on? What if they never reach out? What if they forget about me? That fear, that's what's keeping you stuck. That's what's keeping you from truly walking away. But let me tell you something. If someone can forget about you just because you stopped chasing them, they were never yours to begin with. People don't appreciate what's always been there. They don't value what they think they can replace. But the second they realize they lost something they'll never get back, that's when the regret sets in. That's when they start feeling the void. And the void, that's what breaks them. Because suddenly they're alone with their thoughts. Suddenly they don't have the comfort of knowing you'll always pick up. Suddenly they can't just text you and expect you to respond. Suddenly they're left with silence. And silence, it's deafening. But let's be honest, this won't be easy. Because in the beginning, you will feel it more than they do. You will struggle. You will fight the urge to check on them. You will crave their attention, their validation, their acknowledgement. Because no contact isn't just about them, it's about you. It's about breaking the cycle that kept you stuck. It's about choosing yourself instead of waiting for someone else to choose you. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel like withdrawal. But that discomfort is necessary because every time you resist the urge to reach out, every time you remind yourself that you are done waiting, you become stronger. And they start realizing that they weren't as important as they thought. They start realizing that you were the prize all along. But by the time they finally understand it, you'll be long gone. So now, my friends, it's time to make a decision. Do you keep waiting? Do you keep hoping? Do you keep giving them the comfort of knowing you'll always be there? Or do you walk away for real this time? Do you close the door, lock it, and throw away the key? Do you let them feel the emptiness, the absence, the regret? Because the truth is, people don't change when you tell them how much they hurt you. They change when they finally feel what life is like without you. Now say it with me. I am walking away for good. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. Number 3. Become the one who got away, not the one who waited. Regret doesn't come from losing someone who stayed. It comes from losing someone they'll never get back. Let that hit you. Because right now, they think they've got you figured out. They assume you're still waiting, still thinking about them, still hoping they'll come back. They believe that no matter how much time passes, they'll always have access to you. That if they send a message, you will reply. That if they change their mind, you'll still be there. But what happens when you don't? What happens when they finally look for you and you're gone? That's when reality smacks them in the face. Because here's the truth. People don't regret losing someone who begged. They don't regret losing someone who waited around, hoping, wishing, checking their phone every night. They regret losing the one who disappeared, the one who stopped waiting, the one who became something they could never replace. You want to know why they don't regret losing you yet? Because in their mind, they haven't actually lost you. Maybe they walked away. Maybe they ignored you. Maybe they made you feel like an option. But as long as you're still thinking about them, as long as you're still checking their profile, as long as your energy is still tied to them, they don't feel the loss. And that's exactly why your next move isn't just silence. It's transformation. It's becoming someone they can never reach again. Imagine an old key, one that once unlocked a door effortlessly. But over time, the lock changes. The key no longer fits. And no matter how hard someone tries, they'll never open that door again. That's what you need to become, the lock they can never open again. So now it's time to do what they never expected. You stop watching them. No more stalking their social media, no more checking their stories, no more searching for clues about their life. Nothing. You go cold. Because the moment they realize you're not watching anymore, that's when the regret kicks in. Because now you're a mystery, now you're unknown, now they don't know what you're thinking, where you are, or who you're with. And nothing drives people crazier than the unknown. They expect you to crumble. They expect you to wait. They expect you to show signs that you're still attached. So when you don't, when they realize you've moved forward without them, that's when the panic sets in. But this isn't just about ignoring them. This isn't about sitting in silence, hoping they'll come back. This is about leveling up. You don't just disappear, you evolve. You step into the version of yourself that makes them question everything. You glow up, physically, mentally, emotionally. You become the person they never thought you could be, the version of you they never believed they would lose. And trust me, this won't be easy. Because right now you feel like proving something. You feel like showing them what they lost, like rubbing it in their face. But the most powerful move is letting them figure it out on their own. Because the moment they see you out there, thriving, laughing, moving forward without them, that's the moment the regret sinks in. That's the moment they start questioning everything. You ever notice how people only start chasing when you stop? How they only start caring when they realize you don't? That's because people don't value what's always there. They only crave what they can't have. And when you finally become unreachable, untouchable, unforgettable, that's when they break. But by then, it won't even matter, because you won't just be the one who walked away. You'll be the one they will never ever get back. Now say it with me. I am irreplaceable. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. Number 4, the ego trap. Why they only regret losing you when it's too late. People don't miss you, they miss the power they had over you. Let that sink in, because right now, they don't feel like they've lost anything. They don't feel regret. They don't feel the weight of what they've done, not because you weren't valuable, oh, you were, but because they assumed you'd always be there. They believed deep down that no matter how they treated you, no matter how many times they ignored you, hurt you, or pushed you away, you would still be an option. But what happens when you refuse to play the game? What happens when they finally reach out expecting the same old you, and instead, silence? That's when the panic sets in. That's when the regret kicks in. Because it was never about love, it was always about control. And when they realize they don't have that control anymore, their ego takes the biggest hit of its life. Imagine a gambler sitting at a slot machine. They keep pulling the lever again and again, expecting a payout. They don't appreciate the machine when it's working. They only care when it stops giving them what they want. And then one day, the machine shuts down. No warning, no explanation, just a blank screen. The gambler doesn't walk away thinking, wow, I really should have appreciated it while I had it. No, they think, wait, what just happened? Where's my next chance? Where's my control? That's how they see you. You weren't a priority. You were an option, a backup plan, something they thought they could return to whenever they pleased. And the second you break that pattern, the second you stop responding, the second you take back your power, that's when they realize they've lost. But right now, I know what you're thinking. What if they never come back? What if they really don't care? What if I disappear and they just move on like I never mattered? That fear, that's your ego talking. That's the part of you that's still looking for proof that you were important to them. That's the part of you that's still hoping they'll wake up and chase you. But let me tell you something. The people who truly value you never put you in a position to question your worth in the first place. This is where most people mess up. They think no contact is about making them regret it quickly. They expect instant results. They want proof that it's working. And when they don't see it right away, they cave. They check their profile, they watch their stories, they throw little hints hoping to get a reaction. But guess what? Every time you do that, you give them relief. Because now they know. They see you still care. They feel safe knowing that even if they ignore you today, even if they stay silent, you're still thinking about them. And that's why they don't regret losing you. But the second they realize you've truly moved on, the moment they understand that you're no longer watching, no longer waiting, no longer responding, that's when it hits. That's when the regret slams into them like a train they never saw coming. Because now they have to sit with it. They have to deal with the fact that they lost someone who actually cared. They have to wrestle with the reality that the person they took for granted is no longer within reach. And here's the real kicker. At first, they'll act like they don't care. That's their ego protecting itself. They'll laugh, they'll post, they'll pretend they're living their best life. But deep down, they're waiting. They're waiting for the day you reach out. They're waiting for the moment you slip up, send a message, check in, show them that they still have control. And when you never do, that's when the walls start to crumble. Because suddenly, they're not just missing you, they're missing their power. They're missing the security of knowing that you'd always be there, no matter how they treated you. They're missing the ability to come and go as they pleased. And when they finally realize that you've outgrown them, that you've leveled up, that you don't need their validation anymore, that's when it truly breaks them. But let's be real, this won't be easy, because the hardest part of walking away is trusting that the silence will work. It's fighting the urge to check, to wait, to see if they miss you. But let me tell you something. Regret doesn't happen overnight. It builds. It sneaks up on them when they least expect it. It haunts them in the quiet moments when they realize no one else is giving them the love, the loyalty, the presence that you once gave so freely. And by the time they finally figure it out, you won't even be there to see it. So now, my friends, you have a choice. You can keep looking for proof, keep waiting, keep hoping that one day they'll regret losing you, or you can become the one who got away. You can disappear completely, let them sit in their own mess, and watch as time does the work for you. Because the truth is, when you stop chasing, when you stop reacting, when you stop feeding their ego, that's when they start losing. Now, say it with me. I am no longer an option. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you are done being someone's backup plan. Number 5, the power of the unread message. The strongest move you'll ever make is not responding. Let that sink in. Because right now they think they still have access to you. They think they can walk back into your life whenever they feel like it, that all it takes is a lazy, "Hey, how have you been?" to reopen the door they once slammed shut. But the second you don't respond, that's when everything changes. See, people don't appreciate what's freely available. They don't value what they can have at the snap of a finger. And the moment you show them that their weak, half-hearted attempt isn't enough, that's when the regret starts creeping in. Because now they're left wondering, why aren't you answering? Are you ignoring me? Have you moved on? The message sits there, unread. The silence grows louder, and with every passing hour, every passing day, the panic sets in. It's human nature. Nothing haunts the mind more than an unanswered message. Imagine this. You send a message to someone expecting a reply. Hours go by. Nothing. You check your phone again. Maybe they just missed it. Still nothing. A day passes, and now doubt starts creeping in. Did I say something wrong? Are they upset? You start replaying the last conversation, trying to figure out what went wrong. That's exactly what happens when they text you and you don't respond. Because here's the truth. They're not reaching out because they miss you. They're reaching out because they want to make sure you're still emotionally available. They don't want you back. They just want to know they could have you back if they wanted to. It's not love, it's ego. And when you ignore them, that ego takes the biggest hit. Right now, you might be tempted to reply. That voice in your head is whispering, what if they've changed? What if they finally regret what they did? But let me tell you something. The fact that it took losing you for them to realize your worth means they never valued you in the first place. If someone has to lose you just to see what they had, they never deserved you to begin with. But this is where most people fail. They think silence is weakness. They think ignoring someone is rude. They convince themselves that one little response won't hurt, but the moment you reply, you erase all the power you just built. Because now they know they still have a hold on you. Now they can breathe easy, knowing you're still within reach. And the regret that was starting to build, gone. But when you leave them on red, when you don't even acknowledge their existence, that's when the regret starts eating away at them. And don't get me wrong, it won't happen overnight. At first, they'll act like they don't care. They'll distract themselves. They'll convince themselves they were just checking in. But as time passes, as they realize they no longer have access to you, that's when the real suffering begins. Because now they have to sit with the reality that the person they once took for granted is no longer an option. But let's be real. This won't be easy. There will be moments where you'll want to respond, moments where you'll wonder if ignoring them is the right thing to do, moments where you'll feel guilty for not giving them closure. But remember this, they didn't feel guilty when they ignored you. They didn't think twice when they made you question your worth. They didn't lose sleep over the way they treated you. So now, it's their turn to feel it. So the next time they message you, the next time they throw a weak, "I miss you" your way, the next time they try to slip back into your life with a lazy attempt at conversation, let it sit. Because silence speaks louder than any response ever could. Now say it with me. I owe no one a response. Write it in the comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world. Number 6. The unpredictability factor. Confuse them into regret. Predictability is weakness. Mystery is power. Let that hit you. Because right now they think they know exactly how this will play out. They think they've got you figured out. They believe that no matter what they do, you'll react the way you always have. You'll check in, you'll overthink, you'll crack under pressure and reach out just to remind them that you're still there. But what happens when you break the pattern? What happens when you become a mystery? They ignore you. You disappear completely. They throw breadcrumbs. You don't take the bait. They expect you to care. You act like they never existed. Suddenly, they're not so confident. Suddenly, they're the ones overthinking. And nothing messes with someone's mind more than not knowing where they stand. Imagine a magician performing a trick. If you can see exactly how it's done, the magic disappears. It's predictable, boring, unimpressive. But if you can't figure it out, if you don't know what's going to happen next, now you're hooked. Now you can't stop thinking about it. Now it stays in your mind long after the show is over. That's exactly what happens when you become unpredictable. See, they expected you to react. They expected you to play your role just like before. They expected you to make it easy for them to chase, to explain, to prove your worth. But when you stop being predictable, when you break the cycle, that's when the real regret sets in. But let's be honest, this won't be easy, because right now, your mind is screaming at you. What if they think I don't care? What if they move on? What if I ignore them and they forget about me? That fear, that's exactly what they want you to feel. That's what's kept you on a leash. Because as long as you keep reacting, as long as you keep proving yourself, they don't have to miss you. They don't have to regret anything. They don't have to face the fact that you're gone. But the moment you stop reacting, the moment they can't predict you anymore, that's when their mind spirals. Because now they have no idea what's going on in your head. They don't know if you're hurting. They don't know if you've moved on. They don't know if you even remember they exist. And that drives them insane, because people don't fear losing what they understand. They fear losing what they can't understand. They fear the unknown. And when they suddenly don't know where they stand with you, when they don't know if you even care anymore, when they don't know what you'll do next, they start to regret everything. But here's where most people mess up. They break the silence too soon. They feel the discomfort. And instead of owning it, they reach out just to feel something. They check their social media, they send a vague text, they react to an old post, just a little reminder that they still exist. And in that moment, they lose all their power. Because now the mystery is gone. Now their ego is safe again. Now they know you're still affected, and guess what? That means they don't have to regret anything. But when you stay silent, when you let them sit in their own uncertainty, when they check their phone expecting a message that never comes, that's when they start feeling the loss. Because now they have to wonder, and nothing is more painful than wondering. So let me ask you, are you done being predictable? Are you done reacting the way they expect? Are you ready to become the mystery they'll never solve? Then say it with me. I am unpredictable. I am unforgettable. Write it in the I comments. Show them, show yourself, show the world. Number 7, let time work against them. The longer they go without you, the harder it hits. Let that sink in. Because right now, they think they're fine. They think they've moved on. They think they'll never feel the loss. And maybe for a while that's true. Maybe they're out there laughing, living, acting like losing you meant nothing. But let me tell you something. Time is ruthless, and time will show them exactly what they lost. Because regret doesn't happen overnight. It creeps up when they least expect it. It builds little by little until it becomes unbearable. It starts off as a quiet thought, just a flicker in the back of their mind. And then one day it crashes into them like a tidal wave. At first they won't feel it. Their ego will tell them they made the right choice. They'll distract themselves with new people, new habits, new routines. But time doesn't let anyone escape the truth. One day, they'll go to reach for their phone and you won't be there. One day, they'll need someone who truly understands them, and they'll realize you were the only one who ever did. One day, they'll see you glowing, thriving, happy without them, and suddenly the weight of their mistake will hit them like a train. And by then, it'll be too late. Imagine this. You put a pot of water on the stove. At first, nothing happens. The water is still, calm, untouched. But as time passes, the heat rises, slowly, quietly, without warning. Then suddenly, it's boiling. That's how regret works. It builds in the silence. It grows when they least expect it. And when it finally reaches its breaking point, they won't know what to do with it. But right now, you're sitting there wondering, what if they never regret it? What if they move on and forget about me? That's your fear talking. Your need for instant results trying to trick you into breaking your silence. But let me tell you something. People don't forget the ones who truly mattered. They can pretend. They can lie to themselves. They can try to fill the void with distractions. But time doesn't let them escape the truth. Because one day, they'll be alone with their thoughts. They'll replay old conversations, old memories, old moments that once meant nothing, but now they'll mean everything. They'll hear a song that reminds them of you, and instead of feeling indifferent, they'll feel everything. They'll go looking for someone else to replace you, only to realize you were never replaceable. And here's where most people mess up. They try to rush the process. They sit there counting the days, checking their phone, waiting for the moment their absence finally sinks in. But that's not real no contact. That's still being emotionally invested. That's still waiting for validation. But when you truly let go, when you stop watching, stop waiting, stop checking, that's when time starts working for you instead of against you. Because here's the truth. The people who hurt you don't feel the loss when you walk away. They feel the loss when they realize you're never coming back. They feel it when they finally understand that the version of you they once had access to, that version no longer exists. And by the time they realize it, you'll be too far ahead to even care. So now, my friends, it's time to make a choice. Do you waste time wondering if they regret it? Or do you trust that time will do what it always does? Teach them the lesson they were never ready to learn. Now say it with me. I let time do the work. Write it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world. Number 8. Never let them come back. Make them pay the price. If they had to lose you to see your worth, they never truly valued you. Let that hit you. Let it shake every lie you've told yourself. Because right now, you're still holding on to the idea that maybe, just maybe, they'll come back and finally be different. That losing you was the wake-up call they needed. That now they finally see your worth. But let me tell you something. They don't come back because they've changed. They come back because they've lost control. They come back because they assumed you'd always be there, waiting in the background, hoping for their attention. They come back because they thought they could replace you, and they failed. But the biggest mistake you can ever make is letting them back in. Because if someone had to lose you just to realize what they had, they never truly valued you in the first place. Imagine this. You throw away a diamond thinking it's just another rock. You don't care. You don't look back. And then one day you see someone else wearing it. Suddenly, it shines differently. Suddenly, you realize what you lost. Now you want it back. But here's the thing. The diamond didn't lose value. You just never recognized it when you had it. That's exactly how people operate. They don't regret losing you because they loved you. They regret losing you because someone else sees the value they ignored. And that's not love, that's ego. But I already know what you're thinking. What if they really changed? What if they learned their lesson? What if this time it's different? Let me ask you this. When they had you, did they treat you like you were irreplaceable? Did they cherish you when they had full access to your time, your love, your loyalty? Or did they take you for granted, assuming you'd always be there? Because listen, growth is not proven with words. Anyone can say they've changed. Anyone can send a message saying, "I miss you, I was stupid, I never should have let you go." But the real question is, why did they risk losing you in the first place? Someone who truly values you doesn't need to lose you to see your worth. They see it while they have you. And here's where most people get it wrong. They think taking someone back after no contact is power, that making them regret it and then giving them another chance somehow proves something. But what you're really doing is rewarding their disrespect. You're teaching them that no matter how badly they treat you, no matter how much they neglect you, they can always find their way back in. But what if this time you don't let them? What if this time they realize that when they lost you for good? Because let me tell you something, nothing will break them more than knowing they had something irreplaceable and they will never get it back. And don't get me wrong, they'll try. They'll throw everything at you: nostalgia, fake apologies, grand gestures, empty promises. They'll act like they've had an epiphany, like they finally see what they missed. But what they're really saying is, "I don't like that I lost control over you. I don't like that you're no longer feeding my ego. I don't like that I can't just walk back in like nothing happened." And the only way to make them truly regret it, to make sure they can never fix it, is to lock the door, delete the messages, and keep moving forward. Because you are not an option. You are not someone they can cycle through when they're bored or lonely. You are not a safety net, a backup plan, or a comfort zone they can return to when they realize the world doesn't revolve around them. And let's be honest, this won't be easy, because deep down, you'll want closure. You'll want to hear them say they messed up. You'll want them to prove that they regret it. But let me tell you something, the real power move isn't getting closure from them. It's giving yourself closure by refusing to look back. Because every time you take them back, you erase the lesson. Every time you answer their message, you tell them they still have access. Every time you entertain their return, you tell them they can treat you however they want, because in the end, you'll always be there. But this time you walk away for good. And when they finally realize that the door is locked, that they will never have you again, that no amount of begging, no amount of proving, no amount of regret will undo what they did, that's when it truly destroys them. So now, my friends, it's time to choose. Do you let them back in, knowing they only came back because they lost control? Do you fall for the same words, the same empty apologies, the same manipulation? Or do you finally show them that losing you was permanent? Because the only way to make them regret it forever is to make sure they never get another chance. Now say it with me, I never go back. Write it in the comments, show them, show yourself, show the world that you are no longer a second chance. So my friends, this is it. This is your moment to take back your power, to show them that losing you wasn't just a temporary inconvenience, it was permanent. No more second chances, no more waiting, no more proving your worth to someone who never saw it in the first place. You are not an option, you are the one that got away. Now say it with me, I never go back. Write it in the comments, show them, show yourself, show the world. If this hit home, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Stay strong, your best is yet to come.